Hello, this is Teresa. I'm going to be showing you a fun project that I created using Rinea foiled papers in this chipboard number panel from Creative Embellishments. I'm also using a wood plaque that I bought from Michael's store as the base for my clock. And I'm going to be using some mixed media embossing powder. This is from Emerald Creek and it's called Charred Gold. And I think it's a very pretty embossing powder. So I'm starting by adding some Versamark ink in random places on top of the already painted panel and sprinkling powder all over that. And what you will notice is I have very deliberately not covered that entire panel with this embossing ink and powder because I only want it to show up in selected places or random places all over this chipboard piece. So now I'm melting it and you can start seeing it show up against that black, and it is this beautiful charred gold effect that I like a lot. I'm going to be adding to that by using this Nuvo Drops Copper Penny color, and normally you wouldn't see this product used in this manner. It's usually used to create beads or little droplets on top of a project, but today I'm going to be using it with a makeup sponge, and I'm going to be using it to selectively add some copper color on top of some places where that charred gold melted embossing powder is, and over some of the parts that are painted with that black Deco Art paint. So by the time I finish, I'm going to have pretty much kind of a tri-colored piece. It's going to have the gold, the black, and some of that copper, and it's going to go really well with the foiled papers that I'm choosing for this project. Speaking of the foiled papers, I'm going to be using some of the Mocha in Gold glossy paper, as well as the copper in gold glossy foiled papers for my project. I'm going to use some of them just as they are out of the package without any additional techniques applied to them, but I also will be using an embossing folder, and it's from Sizzix and it's a cobblestone pattern, and I'll be using that to create a contrasting effect to these smooth pieces. So I've cut these down so that they're roughly at least the size or height of each of those panels on my wood plaque. And as you can see, I'm using the embossing folder on one end of my foiled paper, and then I will flip it around and emboss the other side. Now, it doesn't mean that this is going to turn out perfectly, but this is a mixed media project, so I figured I could get away with doing this. And of course, I'll just have to trim this to match, or trim this so that it is the right width and height for the other two panels that I see or have on my plaque. And here's the clock kit that I'm going to be using. I've already gone and drilled a hole big enough for the clock kit to fit through in the back. And before I start doing anything else, I'm just painting one layer. It doesn't need to be super good as far as covering it. I just want enough brown paint on this piece to cover up the fact that if there's any gap whatsoever in the foiled papers that I'm going to glue on here, that it is just not that obvious. So I start off by just painting a base layer of brown paint. I'm going to go around all the edges and make sure that I have brown paint covering every single side of this plaque. And this roller worked really well from the majority of it, but I ended up using a small foam brush to fill in on the edges that I couldn't get to very well with this particular type of roller. So again, I'm going to be using that Copper Penny Nuvo product to apply some kind of like a patina finish on these clock hands that came out of the standard kit. The way that they come in the kit is they were solid black, and I really wanted to make them match more the project that I was doing. So I'm just applying some of that Copper Penny Nuvo Drops to those as well so that it blends in better. And once I'm satisfied with the application, I'm just going to set these aside to dry for a little bit. Now I'm going to be securing all of the pieces of the foiled paper to the wood plaque, so I'm just using some liquid glue to do this. So I apply the glue to the front of the plaque, and then I add some of the glue to the edges of each one of these separate pieces of foiled paper so that when I wrap it around the back, I'll have some glue there to adhere it to the back of the wood panel. And when this project is finished, it's going to hang up on the wall, so it's not going to be visible as far as from the back side of this. So I'm not worried about covering the entire back side of the wood plaque as far as the project goes. So as you can see, I'm alternating the embossed pieces of foil versus the pieces of foil that I have not done any additional techniques on. I just want to make sure that they align closely to each one of the sections, and then make sure that they cleanly wrap around the edges to glue onto the back. Once this is accomplished, the next thing I'm going to have to do is attach the clock kit. And from the back, there's already the hole that I drilled from the plaque earlier that the back of that clock piece will have to go through. I'm going to use this tool to poke a hole through the center and then manipulate the foil to try to create a clean space for that clock kit back to come through. And with this clock kit, there are some pieces to but attach it to whatever clock face that you're using. But because of the width or thickness of the wood plaque that I used, as well as the thickness of the wood chipboard panel, I had to modify the standard clock kit and remove a few pieces. So what you see me doing right now is I'm using this tool basically to make sure that the foil is pushed down around the edges, because what I need here is for the threads to come through from the back so that I can use this washer or be able to put this washer piece on. The washer the washer is important because you have to be able to attach the front of the clock kit to the piece that's on the back to keep it secure. And right here you can see me securing that washer onto the front of this panel. And that's the key thing I want to be able to do to make sure that the clock kit is securely attached to this plaque before I put the wood embellishment piece on top. I did decide to go ahead and use some hot glue to secure my wood or embellishment piece on top. Even though you don't see me doing this, I do add some more hot glue to the back of that panel, the numbers panel, to make sure that it is secured to the front of my clock project. And now I'm adding the hands from the clock kit to the front. And it is a little bit tricky with that minute hand. The hour hand was very easy to put on, but it was a little bit trickier and fussier to get the minute hand on there. There's a teeny tiny little top, I don't want to say a screw, it's another little bolt or nut, if you can think of it that way. I'm sorry, struggling with the words here. But anyway, there is one last piece to secure both the hands on here, and then the clock is complete. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please leave a thumbs up and consider subscribing. See you next time.